Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can do. Great. Okay. So, just in terms of a bit of background, I work partly for the University of Bristol, but I also run NaturalApptitude, which, as I said at the beginning, is a software development company which specialises in creating bespoke smartphone apps and websites, and we've concentrated largely on crowdsourcing projects, so any project that people want to run where you're recruiting members of the public to actually collect data on behalf of the project. That's the type of area that we sort of started in and have specialised in largely, although we've extended out to a variety of other areas as well. So at the University of Bristol, we set up a program called Nature Locator, which I now continue to run. And Nature Locator is really a collection of crowdsourcing projects which are centered around, as the name suggests, biodiversity. So one of the first projects that we did was PlantTracker, which is looking at getting the public to record where they find invasive plant species, and we map that, and we then provide that data to a variety of different partners, whoever wants it really. It's all open data, and the data then, once verified, goes through to the MBN gateway for use by anybody who wants to utilize that information. We're just literally on the cusp of releasing a second version of PlantTracker. So there's the version that's out there at the moment for iOS is the 2012 version. The Android version has already gone live of version 2. So I'll just play a video of the app, and we'll talk about some of the details of that. Can everyone still see this?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So the app basically features a whole load of different invasive plant species. It's got built-in photo galleries, distribution maps, a load of information to help people make a correct identification. We've also got, for each species, a confusion species section with images that show you plants you're likely to muddle up with the target species. The main element of the app, though, is the recording element. So what we ask people to do is take a photograph, or you can upload a photograph from a gallery. The apps will use geolocation, and that's generally accurate once you're out in the field to within sort of 5-10 meters in general. We're collecting a series of data about each species, so whether or not other species are present, whether it's been treated. Himalayan balsam, for example, we've teamed up with CaBA, and we're also now collecting information on the recently introduced Himalayan balsam rust. So we can enable people, all this works offline in the field in case you haven't got a data network. You can save records to your My Sightings, and we've got lots of features in there to enable much more rapid collection of data. So you probably just saw there a quick method for actually going into an add record mode. So in this view, this is My Sightings. I've got my pending records, ones I haven't submitted yet. And then I've got the list of submitted records, and I can clone a submitted record to speed up my recording when I'm out in the field, if I'm doing a river catchment, for example. And that will drop the geolocation data so that I'm forced to re-record that. But you can keep the same photo, because what we're interested in the background is making sure that people actually know and have correctly identified the species. And we've got things like user reports now built into the apps as well. So this is pulling data dynamically from the server, and it tells you a whole load of information about your records, how many there are in the survey in total, how many you've collected, how many have been verified, etc., etc. And the apps are packed full of other information. You can basically put whatever you want into the app in terms of, engaging with your audience. And there are quick things you can do to target particular species such as favorite things, so that they're always available at the click of a button. So that's PlantTracker, the new app. There's a lot of functionality in there that I haven't been through, but for the sake of brevity, that's hopefully given you a good enough idea. We've also we're in the process of just building the website for it as well, so this is going live very shortly. And basically what this carries is further information about the project. It gives people that haven't got a smartphone a method for also engaging with collecting records, so you can go through this form and input whichever species you want. So we've got all the same functionality but in the website, and then you've also got the results page where you can go in and see what's been recorded and where it's been recorded. So this is a basic sort of point location map, but people find this very useful for actually monitoring areas. So in Yorkshire, for example, we've got teams of people out that go and monitor entire river catchments, and they download and utilize all this data for treating those particular species or trying to eradicate them. And then we've got a variety of different reports that run as well, where you can overlay different species. If you're interested in, for example, looking at where species are co-located, you can use this report here to do that. So there's a whole load of functionality built into the website as well. In terms of where the data for PlantTracker goes, the back end for it is iRecord, which is Biological Record Centre's instance of a system called Indicia, which I'm sure quite a lot of you have either used or heard of. And this is my verification panel for PlantTracker data. So this is all data that's come in and hasn't been verified yet, and it gives me the opportunity basically to go in. I can zoom in to have a look at particular records, where they're located, to make sure that they're actually in an appropriate place. I can then click on an image, double check that that's correct, and I can go in there and verify that. Or I can contact the recorder. I can redetermine the taxon if it's been recorded inappropriately, and I can also forward on to another expert if I'm in any doubt about the validity of a particular record. So it's a very nice system to work with. It gives us a way to very rapidly verify data as well. Once that's verified, it goes through on an automated basis to the NBN gateway, where it's available to pretty much anyone, and it should also then eventually flow through to GBIF as well. Moving on to the next project, this is one which is particularly appropriate for the Rivers Trust. This is River Obstacles, and River Obstacles has been created with Scottish... Oh, got someone talking on the line there. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I seem to be getting someone talking on the line as well, but this is River Obstacles. It's basically there to enable people to go out and record where they're finding obstacles to largely fish migration. So we're interested in looking at man-made weirs, but also natural obstacles, so things like fallen trees that are creating problems. So this is again envisaged as being a citizen science tool. The idea is to encourage members of the public to go out and monitor their rivers. So one of the target groups for this is fishermen, and it's again got lots of information in there about the different types of obstacle, what we're interested in recording. So people can actually just go through and work through it in a progressive fashion, recording the type of obstacle, the height, whether or not there is the ability for particular fish species to pass that particular obstacle. Is anyone else getting interference on their line?
No, I can't see it.
No? That's very bizarre. Okay, I don't know why I'm picking up someone else's line here as well.
If everyone's okay, what I'll do is I'll mute everyone except Dave, and we'll have time for questions just after his session, if that's okay. Hopefully that'll do it, Dave.
Okay.
Sorry, carry on.
That's fine. So river obstacles then is basically it's a tool that's just going to look at any obstacles in a river course, and we've also got a supporting website for this as well, which is very similar in its makeup to PlantTracker site that I've already shown you. So it's got a verification panel in it as well, where people can actually go in and they can create they can load a report that they're interested in, sort of geographically, or whether or not this the obstacles have been verified or not verified, queried, etc. So you can interrogate particular points on a map. If this will work for me, which it will. And again, so we've got expert verifiers lined up, which will go in and they'll look at all of this data, and they'll either verify it, query it, etc. So the data quality is very high for all of our projects, because all of the records generally are supported with images accurately geolocated by the smartphone, and also then verified at the end of that process. Another project which might be of interest to people, and this is the last one I'm going to show you, is AquaInvaders, which you may have come across. So this is a project that's been running for a number of years, and it's focused rather than on terrestrial. Obviously this is aquatic species, invasive pests within the UK, and it covers a whole range of different invasives, and it's again largely meant to be a tool that fishermen, for example, can engage with and provide the Environment Agency particularly with information on where they're finding things like crayfish species. They're also very, very keen on finding out where particular non-native invasive fish species are. And we've had several records come through of things like topmouth gudgeon and a variety of other species like sunbleak, which the Environment Agency actually have a dedicated team that they send out to check validity, and they'll then deal appropriately with those outbreaks or records. So these projects all operate in a pretty similar way, really. They're the apps are all designed to be very user friendly. They're full of information, so all of them have got built-in identification guides or field guides, and they're all designed to work offline. And the websites then give people that extra ability to engage with the project, and for the people that are running the project to disseminate the information as well. And in the background, we're generally basing the back end around Indicia, which is this open source Drupal-based platform, which gives you a pretty wide scope for what you can actually do in terms of customizing the way that this works. You can run any kind of report that you like. In terms of data availability for these projects, all of the data is available. Some of it is more directly available than in other cases. So the information actually goes through to iRecord. They used to make their data available for download to anyone directly from iRecord, but they've now limited it to your own data only, because the MBN is now seen as the place that should be the one-stop shop for all of the biodiversity information that's transiting through iRecord. For things like river obstacles, we can set people up to be able to download the reports of the obstacles that they're collecting. And that would be done in discussion with the partners that set this up, and because they're government partners, they're very interested in getting this information out and utilised. So I don't think there'll be any problem at all with that. There is also another project called WiseCAM, which we've done with University of Bristol, Cardiff, and one of the Rivers Trusts, the West Country Rivers Trust, and that's largely about collecting information on water quality. So it's a bit more focused, and it's largely meant to be run in conjunction with another project which is collecting the data via a series of sensors that are set in particular catchments. But some of the Rivers Trust are also starting to use it now for doing more ad hoc recording of particular chemicals in the water, pH levels, that sort of thing, or pH is one of the things that will be built in later on. So that's a general overview of our types of projects. So are there any questions at this stage? Michelle, have we got time for that?
Yes, we have. I think we've allowed 5 minutes, so thanks very much, Dave. I've just unmuted everyone, so hopefully we won't get too much interference. But does anyone have any questions for Dave?
Jeff here.
Hello. Hi.
Sorry, Dave. It's Jeff from River Waveney Trust. A really useful suite of apps, this. What are the licensing terms, please?
For users, for people to obtain the apps, or?
Well, typically a Rivers Trust.
Yeah, I mean they're all free to download and use. There are no restrictions on that at all. They're available for iOS and Android pretty much across the board. A couple of exceptions to that. PlantTracker we're also building for Windows, so they're there as tools for anybody to utilize. The data is all open, so anybody can get hold of that data. It's, as I said, it's a slightly more convoluted issue with getting hold of some of the stuff that goes through iRecord, just because they've had this agreement with the NBN that the NBN will be the one-stop shop for that. But we can make the data available to people because we capture a lot more information than goes through to the NBN in its exchange data format. So there isn't really any licensing that you would need to consider for this. It's all open and free.
Okay, so it's really more trying to look at the whole cost of ownership. Your consultancy, in inverted commas, from University of Bristol and the use of the websites and so on all comes for free to us, does it?
No, I mean it's a private business basically. NaturalApptitude is not any longer part of the University of Bristol, but the partners, the Environment Agency, Scottish Natural Heritage, Natural Resources Wales, they're the people that have footed the bill for the development of these products, because they are the people that are predominantly interested in dealing with a lot of this data. So they as part of their remit that they need to address some of these issues for Water Framework Directive, that sort of thing. So they have paid for this. But in terms of your use of it, there wouldn't be any cost of you engaging with these projects. Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Not completely, because I think, Michelle, it's a general question about all these products. Is, as representing a Rivers Trust and a charity, we need to know what is effectively, let's call it open source, what we have no cost to involve ourselves in data capture, but also data housing, verification, and all the rest of it, and the tools for that. We need to know, because the costs there can be what, on our experience of one of the other apps, is what's likely to kill it for us.
So is it you're concerned about the getting access to the verification software, Jeff, or that maybe?
Yes, I think perhaps we should take this offline as those who are members of the Rivers Trust and see whether, through your good services, Michelle, we're able to consolidate our requirements on a single product, and Rivers Trust then negotiate with the owner of the product on the service we need, because the data capture and use of apps is pretty much, there's no disregard to the people who've created these wonderful apps, but it's a no-brainer, and everybody expects that to be free, because we're adding considerable volunteer time to capturing this data. But it's the analysis of the data which the Rivers Trusts need to know without having to go through very heavy centralized databases and so on. So I think can I talk to you, or we'll talk later about that? But I was very impressed by Dave's other products. I mean, they're exactly the types of products we want to be using.
Okay, thanks very much. Well,
yeah,
I think
we can certainly pick that up later on. Yeah.
Yeah, follow up with any sort of longer questions afterwards.